everyone. My name is Ashley Dueñas, and after reviewing Leadership in Occupational Therapy Self Perceptions of Occupational Therapy Managers, AOTA Centennial Vision, and Vision 2025, I wanted to start off by saying that I was unaware of the fact that AOTA had initiated several leadership training programs, including one for emerging leaders. So I thought that was actually really interesting. The authors of Occupational Therapy Self Perceptions of Occupational Therapy Managers begin by describing the differences between leadership versus management. Management is described as emphasizing the organization, direction, and control of work to ensure the adequacy of its quality. I interpreted this as management similar to a checklist, making sure a team completes every single check, check, check in order to reach that end goal to be able to move on to the next checklist. Meanwhile, leadership is described as conveying trust in employees and emphasizing empowerment in order to create a team environment. So, similar to management, leaders will ensure that the checklist still gets check, check, checked in order to reach the end goal. But rather than have a continuous direct path, we may see a few bumps and curves as employees are taught new skills for empowerment to mentor and create relationships for a positive workplace culture. This actually reminded me of a quote that stated, "You do not hit the blind, but rather lead them by the hand," indicating you do not punish or reprimand those who do not know, but rather take the time to teach them by guiding the way. I have actually searched high and low to find who stated this quote, but I've had such a hard time. So unfortunately, I don't have a direct citation to who said this. The authors of this article also mentioned an important leadership characteristic that was identified in their study that mentioned how fieldwork educators can also mentor students to develop these core professional leadership competencies. Often, I think fieldwork instructors are focused on the competencies of being able to meet productivity and accurately complete documentation, which, although is crucial, having the opportunity to learn to collaborate with CODAs and therapy techs during fieldwork would be a well rounded educational opportunity. The Centennial Vision from 2007 stated, "We envision that occupational therapy is a powerful, widely recognized, science driven, and evidence based profession with a globally connected and diverse workforce meeting society's occupational needs." Although the Centennial Vision included 10 important trends for the future and 8 elements to describe their vision, I felt as though it was really general and really broad. For example, one of the strategic directions towards leadership was strengthening our capacity to influence and lead, as well as prepare OTs and OTAs for the 21st century period. Despite the length of Vision 2025 emphasizes occupational therapy maximizing health, well being, and quality of life for all people, populations, and communities through effective solutions that facilitate participation in everyday living. In order to meet this vision and move forward in the future, guideposts were created to meet this vision. The guideposts are for occupational therapy to be accessible, collaborative, effective, and have leaders. Perhaps it is because maybe it's a newer definition, but I felt as though Vision 2025 encompassed occupational therapy's needs and goals in a more concise manner than perhaps at the Centennial Vision. As far as my real life example, I think the characteristics that I have utilized have been modeling the way, encouraging the heart, and enabling others to act. So I know I mentioned this in my previous assignments, but I recently transitioned to the Director of Therapy position for the El Paso branch. So let me go ahead and provide a little background information. I had just joined this company and I said I was only going to do PRN. Their current Director of Therapy, 1 week into my new PRN position, resigned and moved to another state. I slowly began to get more and more patients, even though I was only going to remain PRN. But before I knew it, I was interviewing and received the position of lead therapist, followed by assistant director of therapy. One of the other directors of therapy was running our El Paso branch remotely. That is when the decision to transition became a reality. So when I was provided with the opportunity to take over, there were 2 other speech therapists and myself as the OT department. We were a total of 3 therapists, no marketers, no therapy coordinators, and everyone else was approximately 12 hours away. Despite this physical distance, everyone still tried their best to be available for a phone call if needed, but it was still challenging nonetheless. I was now tasked with building this branch and developing its own culture. Providing this Throughout this time, we were also transitioning to a new EMR system. So in order to successfully lead the current employees through this new system and continue to attempt to grow this branch, I began by modeling the way. I continued to build my own caseload and see kiddos That way I could complete the documentation, evaluations, and re-evaluations to be able to understand therapist confusion or complaints, as well as learning new tips and tricks myself. From the director of therapy standpoint, I was learning how to use the system, but I was also learning how to find insurance information, authorization information, more back of the house information. I also got to work at the same ABA centers and daycare centers that the speech therapists were getting to see patients in, which helped me build the same rapport and be able to understand when issues may have arose. By holding myself accountable for a caseload, I was also able and aware of how long documentation was now taking and how to better communicate and teach the EMR system and the new employee orientations. I think what makes our company unique is that once we get an available patient, the therapist is provided with basic information such as location, availability, and diagnoses. They then have the opportunity to say yes or no to picking up this child. I believe having this freedom of choice has also encouraged the leadership practice of enabling others to act as they feel in control of their own schedule and of their caseload in particular. Although this may have a downfall of individuals only selecting younger kiddos or only selecting older kiddos or the diagnoses that maybe they're only familiar with, we are now providing mentor opportunities, even if it may be virtual, as well as the creation of monthly OTPT meetings to have the opportunity to discuss these difficult cases or just to learn about new skills and interventions. Since the transition, we currently have 12 therapists, now a combination of OT, PT, and speech on our team. Although it is still a small win, it is still more than three. We recently had a vote on our continuing education course to take, and we decided to take an intro to ASL for healthcare professionals. And it was so challenging and so fast paced, but it was also so much fun to be able to practice together and learn a new skill. As far as encouraging the heart, since we are fortunate to still have a small team, I am still able to meet one on one to be able to congratulate and recognize an individual. I try my best to host a therapist appreciation event at least once every 3 months, and I try to pick opportunities where we can complete activities together, such as paint nights, for example. Company wide, we are now sending work anniversary cards to provide a small token of recognition. And I think this serves as a reminder to ourselves of how lucky we are that someone has stuck around with us for a certain amount of time. It's really humbling. I will say that I find challenging the process and inspiring a shared vision to be the leadership areas that I think I'm having the most difficulty with. As far as challenging the process, as I am our marketing team as well, I have been trying to find new referral sources, such as daycares, charter or private schools, and ABA centers. But as far as experimenting and taking risks, I still feel I am scared of failure and of our branch not producing perhaps where it should be. I guess I still feel like I'm learning the process that I don't feel I am at the point where I can start challenging the process. And I think this relates to inspiring a shared vision. I think a lot of times I'll refer to what one of the other branches has been doing, as they have closer to 200 therapists. And although deep down I feel we're doing well, I think it's just hard inspiring a shared vision when I'm not even sure exactly how many referrals we're going to be getting at the end of the month and how fast we can build a caseload. And it's just a little bit concerning when I just want to take care of our therapist. I want to ensure that they're happy, that they're comfortable, and that the kiddos that we serve are getting taken care of as well. Thank you for your time.